Hey, welcome back to another walkthrough. This walkthrough, we're going to go through Chapter 9, Excel Grader Project, Billing. And let's go ahead and get started. Let's click on our assignment. Go ahead and download our materials. Go ahead and download and print your instructions and also download your student file. And then open up your student file. And click on Enable Editing. Alright, so in this particular assignment, we're going to learn how to record a macro. We're going to learn how to use that macro. And then we're also going to learn how to create some forms, put in some check boxes and whatnot. So, very first thing we want to do is we want to save this workbook as a macro-enabled document. So let's come up here to our File tab. And from our File tab, let's hit Save As. And right here, let's change it from an Excel workbook. Let's hit the down arrow and change it to an Excel macro-enabled workbook. And then hit Save. So now we're saved as a macro-enabled workbook. We can actually create and use macros. Also, we need to enable our Developer tab. So we're going to come here to our File tab. From our File tab, we're going to come all the way down here to our Options. And from Options, we are going to select Customize Ribbon. And from Customize Ribbon, over here on our main tabs here, we want to put a check mark next to Developer. And once you have the check mark next to Developer, go ahead and hit OK. And now you should see your Developer tab right here. So let's go ahead and display our mortgage chart worksheet, which we already did. And we want to create a macro that will put header or create a footer in the sheet. So we are going to start by hitting our record macro up here. Now once you start recording a macro, anything that you do is going to be recorded. So you have to be very deliberate in what you click on. So let's go ahead and click on Record Macro. And it gives us a macro name. Our macro name we want to be is chart_setup. So type in chart_setup. And we're going to give it a shortcut keyboard of Control-O. So just type in an O right here. And we want to store the macro in this workbook. And for the description, we want to type in create footers in chart sheets. Create footers in chart sheets. And double check, make sure you spelled everything correctly. And hit OK. Now everything that we do is being recorded. So we want to insert a custom footer. Well, we're going to come up here to our Page Layout tab. We'll click on Page Layout. And we want to come to our Page Setup grouping here. So we want to click on this little guy for our Page Setup. And we'll click on our header footer. And we'll customize footer. And in the left section, we want to put in our file name. And in the right section, we want to put in our sheet name, which is this right here, our sheet name. So once we have our file name and our sheet name, go ahead and hit OK. Go ahead and hit OK again. And let's go back to our Developer tab and stop recording. So we now just created a macro that will put in a customized footer for us. So now we want to display our code. So let's go to our macros button right here. And from macros where it says chart setup, let's go ahead and click on it and hit edit. And now we have our code for our macro. And right here in this blank area right here, this space, go ahead and click there, hit the space bar once, and type in inserts, file name, and sheet name. So inserts, file name, and sheet name. We can go ahead and close out of this now, and close out of this. And once you close out of those two things, it'll take us back to our sheet here. We want to add a chart setup macro to our quick access toolbar up here at the top. So to do that, we're going to go to our File tab. From our File tab, we'll go all the way down to Options. We're going to customize our quick access toolbar. And where it says popular commands here, hit the down arrow and select macros. Now I have a whole bunch of macros. You may not have so many macros. You might only have one or two. I have a lot. I need to find the one that says chart setup. So I'm going to look for my C's right here, chart setup. And I want to add it over here. So make sure it's highlighted and hit add. And it'll put it here for me, but I want to modify it so I have a different icon. So I'm just going to come down here to modify. And just go ahead and pick something fun. I'm just going to scroll down. Here's a smiley face. I'm going to pick the smiley face. And hit OK. And notice now I have a smiley face here. I'm going to hit OK again. And now notice I have a smiley face that pops up on my quick access toolbar. And if I hover over it, it says chart setup. Well, that's awesome. So now I have an icon there. So now let's go to our construction chart worksheet. And using that macro button, I'm going to just go ahead and click on my my sheet here. Now using that macro, I'm going to automatically insert a custom footer. So I'm going to just show you real quick. You don't have to do this, but if I go to my File tab and I go to Print, notice how I do not have a custom footer here yet. So now I'm going to go back here. So now that I'm back in my construction chart, I'm going to hit this little button right here, my chart setup macro. Go ahead and hit that. And it does a little bit of a flicker. Now if I go to my File tab and I go to Print, notice it now has my custom footer. So all of those steps that I had to do, go to the file, go to the page layout, go to page setup, go into the footer, header footer, all of that was replaced by one click. And that's really the power of creating macros, is that you can do a lot of things, a lot of redundant tasks, and use one button to complete them all. All right, so now we're on step number 7. We want to display the summary sheet. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to click on the summary sheet. And we want to put in some ActiveX control boxes. So I'm going to come up here to my Developer tab. And from my Developer tab, I'm going to turn on my design mode. To turn on design mode, you just have to click on design mode once. Once design mode is on, we can go ahead and add in some of our ActiveX checkboxes. So I'm going to hit my insert button right here under controls. You may have a couple of these already showing, but we want to go under ActiveX and I want to select checkbox ActiveX control. Now once I click on that, notice now I have a little small crosshairs. I want to put one in cell B10, so I'm just going to right here in cell B10, I'm going to click once. Notice how it puts a box in for me. I want to insert another one of those. I'm going to click on insert. I want to click on that checkbox again, ActiveX. And right below it in B12, I'm going to click again. Puts another checkbox for me. And then one more time, I'm going to hit the insert button, ActiveX control checkbox. And right underneath that, about B14, I'm going to click once. And boom, I have 3 checkboxes here. Now I need to change the property. So I'm going to click on checkbox number 1. Make sure checkbox 1 is selected. You see the dots going around it. And I'm going to come up here to my content, my controls, and I'm going to click on properties. And I can go ahead and move this box. I can make it bigger by hovering over on the edge, make it a little bit bigger if need be. So I want to go ahead and change my properties. So the name is going to be changed to billing. So right here where it says name, checkbox 1, I'm going to change this to billing. And once I've typed in billing, I'm going to find where it says caption, right here, caption, where it says checkbox 1. I'm going to delete this. And I'm going to type in billing verified. And notice how it changed over here. Now I want to click on checkbox 2, so I'm going to just come over here and click on checkbox 2. Notice how this changes. I want to change the name of checkbox 2 to contact. And under caption, I'm going to find where it says caption. And I'm going to change to contacts verified. And now I want to click on checkbox 3, change the checkbox 3 name to manager, and change the caption to manager assigned. So now I have all of these changed: billing verified, contacts verified, and manager assigned. Now I want to select all 3 checkboxes. So with manager assigned selected, hold down the control key and click on contacts verified. And while control key is still held down, click on billing verified. And that'll allow me to select all 3. And now I have properties for all 3 boxes. I want to change the height, so I'm going to find where it says height. And I want to change the height to 18, so I'm going to click on 18. I want to change the width to 105, so I'm going to find where it says width, and I want to change it to 105. Then I want to change the font to bold italic. So right here where it says font, I'm going to click on the font group here, and then click on these 3 dots. And I'm going to do bold italic. And I'm going to hit OK. And notice how I've now changed all of those formats at once. And now I'm done with the properties, so I can go ahead and exit out of this right here. Now with all 3 still selected, it wants me to distribute vertically and align left. So if I come up here, I can click on my Format tab. And this Format tab right here is going to give me my Arrange group where I can align different things. So I'm going to click on Align, and I'm going to distribute vertically, which is going to make them evenly apart. And then I'm going to click on Align, and I'm going to align left. And that's going to line all of them up. So now all of these are equal distance apart, and it's also now aligned properly. So we're done. I'm going to come back up here to my Developer tab. I'm going to turn off my design mode, which will now allow me to check each one of these boxes. All right, now we want to go to our File tab here. And from our File tab, I want to show all properties. And I'm going to put in our tags. Our tag is going to be Billing Summary. And from Billing Summary, I'm going to do Subject, which is going to be CGS. And I'm going to right-click on Go Series, Remove Person, and I'm going to put my name in as the author. I also want to remove the pie chart icon, so I'm going to come over here. I'm going to hit the Save button. And then I'm going to come up here to my Quick Access toolbar, right-click on my macro button, and just hit Remove from Quick Access toolbar. And it'll go bye-bye. Now I want to click on the Developer tab again. So let's go back to Developer tab. And I want to view my macro code again. So I'm going to click on Macros. And I'm going to select Chart Setup and hit Edit. And I want to select, I'm going to start with this first apostrophe right here. And I'm going to highlight all the way down to Control O. I want to highlight these 4 lines right here. From Chart Setup Macro, that first apostrophe all the way down. And then I want to right click and hit Copy. Or I can hold Control C, which will also copy it as well. And then I want to hit the X button here. I'm going to exit out of the Visual Basic. Now I want to create a new sheet. To do this, I'm going to click on this plus button right here. Now I have a sheet 1. I want to rename this. I'm going to right click and hit rename. And I'm going to name this macro. And I'm going to click in cell A1 And I'll hold down the Control key and hit V for paste. And lastly, it wants me to move this macro sheet to the very end of the worksheet. So I'm just going to come down here. I'm going to hover over macro, click hold, and I'm just going to drag it all the way to the end of construction chart. And then go ahead and click on summary, make it the active cell. And we are done. We're going to come up here. We're going to hit the File tab. I'm going to hit Save As because remember we saved this as a macro-enabled workbook. In order to submit it, we need to change it back to a regular workbook. So I'm going to hit Save As. And where it says macro-enabled workbook, I'm going to click the down arrow and select Excel workbook. And hit Save. Now, because we downloaded our file as a regular workbook, it's going to say the file already exists. Do we want to replace the existing file? And yes, we do. Hit OK. We want to replace the file. And then once this comes up, it'll say that a macro-free workbook, we can't use macros. Go ahead and hit yes. So there we have it. We have saved our workbook. Go ahead and exit out of it. It asks us if we want to save it. We're going to hit save. Go ahead and exit out of our downloading starting materials. We'll choose our file. And we're going to find Chapter 9. Notice that there are two Chapter 9s. One is an Excel worksheet. One is a macro-enabled worksheet. We want to submit the non-macro. We want to do just the regular Excel worksheet. So go ahead and click on that and hit open. Now, if you get an error message here that says this file type is not supported, that means you selected the wrong one. Make sure you select the other one. Go ahead and hit upload and submit for grading and close assignment. Now, let's see how well we did. We can go ahead and scroll all the way down to Chapter 9, hit the three dots, and we're going to view submissions. And it looks like I got 100%. You could click on this. You could see if you did something wrong. You can go ahead and fix it and submit this again for the best grade possible. Once again, if you need to contact me through Canvas. Have a wonderful day.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you found this video useful, please like and subscribe to the channel, as I'll be posting new walkthroughs and tech tips each week. Check back regularly for new content, and have a wonderful day.